Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Just haven't turned the stuff on in a while. Just got to make sure it's all working right. Seems to be. Welcome back. I hope you had a good New Year's and Christmas. And now we're back into my live stream once again. My name is Trevor Slescu, owner of Monster Hobbies in High River, Alberta, Canada. As a so our website, you can get model cars, of course. And our site is priced in Canadian dollars. We offer free shipping on Canadian orders over $75. We accept PayPal and credit card payments on our secure pay system, which of course means that if you buy something and you use your credit card after the end of that transaction, all that information is eliminated. And you can use the coupon code YouTube at the checkout to save 10% off your next purchase. And don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter that's going to be off the side here on our website. And in the newsletter, I'm trying to get them out every 2 weeks, which is not an easy task. But I have sent out one that just said Happy New Year recently, so hopefully you all got it. So I see there's now 3 people in the room. So like I said, it's been a while since I did this, probably about 2-3 weeks maybe. So I got to get back in the flow of live streams. Oh, Rod Regis is here. Hello. Where, of course, the Texas North in Alberta, and they're the Texas South, being in Texas. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so today we're going to be talking about classic, well, not necessarily classic, but the luxury cars from all time. So this would be like your Packards, your Bugattis, your Cadillacs, and Chrysler, of course, the Imperials, the big ones, the big monster cars. So now I haven't built a lot of the classics. So Rod Regis asked me how everything's going up north. We are snowed in, and they're talking about more snow. It's kind of like white sand, but it falls from the clouds. It makes driving slippery. Anyway, okay, so as I was saying, I haven't had a chance to build very many of the luxury cars, although when I was pulling out my own models out of my own collection for this live stream, I discovered I actually have a lot in my collection, and I should get building these things. Some of them I've had since the 90s and just sort of maybe got 2 or 3 things done, and that was it. So some of these are on my YouTube channel, like this one, where I do a full review. Now, this is the Bugatti Coupe Napoleon, and this one was noted as being one of the biggest cars ever made. It's in 1/24th scale, of course, made by Italieri, and which is interesting because Bugatti himself was actually an Italian that moved to France and started his car company there. So for this to be made by Italieri, which is an Italian company, is kind of right on the money. But at any rate, this car was noted as being the largest car in the world. And what is interesting about this is it's really tall and big. But I took this box, and yes, compared to something like a Model T or whatever, you can almost put 2 Model Ts end to end, and they'd just be a little longer than this. But as far as cars that came after that, there are bigger things. It's just this is really tall this way, so I don't know where the dimension wise what they're talking about. But these Bugatti Royales were big cars. This one came out in 1927, the real car. Model kit is from the 80s, of course. But yeah, Rod Regis would like to hot rod this. I've seen a YouTube video where someone took I forget what it was, but one of these cars, and they made up, it looks like a straight 16 and put it in there. But that's pretty cool anyway. If you are one of the persons, just chime in. All right, so that's the first one. And the full unboxing for that is on the YouTube channel. And same with this one. This, of course, is the Connoisseur Classic. Okay. Everything falling down in there now? All right. The Connoisseur Classic by MPC. Now, I do believe Round 2 re-released this not too long ago, but I can't quite remember. Although this one is more of an original, a 70s edition. It's got the Fun Dimensions logo on here, and these are the other cars in the series, which would be nice if MPC Round 2 re-released them. They have brought out the Chrysler again. It's the Gangbusters one. There's the Lincoln. There's also this Chrysler, which has the, I guess that's a Phaeton one. Let's see. LeBaron Imperial. Okay. But still, sort of similar idea with the long top and the 4 doors. Be nice to see this one come out. And there's the other version of the Lincoln, which was the runabout, or the coupe, the Roadster. There we go. Again, these are pretty fantastic kits. They all have posable wheels. Some of these ones, they had there's a little door off the side here. You can see just above my finger. That was to put in golf clubs in the cars. So Rod Rage is saying that he's hot rodding the Gangbusters right now. That's cool. Still, I like to build these stock if I ever get a chance to. My busy life going on, yeah. All right, so next up, I actually have 2 of the same kit, but built at different time periods. So let's do the earlier version of this first. So I've got the Packard, or as some people call these, the Packard, which is interesting. So I'm not quite sure where to put that emphasis in the name. I've always called it or known it as Packard. So my dad had a 48 Packard, actually. But anyway, this one here is from the Hera Auto Collection. These came out in about 1975 and were to reflect the Hera automobile cars at the time that were in the museum. So again, very nicely done. There's the images of it on the side. And then I've got a later release from Monogram of the same kit. And there they've done the red car instead of the brown and green. And I just want to say this kit goes together really well. Now, this is the version that I made when I was a kid. And of course, I've got 2 there to make better ones. And I've seen some advertising on this. And there's one where the body is black and the fenders are a red or even an orange. It's old publicity artist drawing, so it's hard to know if it was red or orange, really. But it would still look pretty good. This one is like your typical Monogram, goes together nice. And the one thing about these Packards is that they actually lowered the body down and the windshields as well. So these almost have a chopped and channeled look from the coach builders of the era. And there's that Packard engine inside there. It's getting very nicely done. The only reservation, I don't understand if this is something that I did wrong or a manufacturer issue, because my dad built a whole bunch of these classic cars when he was alive, because he was into them. He grew up with these cars. He was born in the early 1930s. So stuff like this would have been around throughout the 40s and whatever. But the model kits, had a really big classic thing. Johan and Monogram and everybody was making these AMT, MPC. My issue is the way the hood moves like this. I don't remember that happening on my dad's models. So I don't know if that was something that I did wrong or what. Hey, Frizzo's Model Cars is on. Hello. Nice you could join us. This one, of course, does have the removable top. And along with that, oh, here it is. You get the folded down top, which you can, of course, put there. More or less. There we go. So you've got that nice, up top or down top kind of look. So that's always fun. Have any of you built this one before? Let us know over in the chat box there. Lots of fun. Always fun on my live stream, I guess. I don't know. No one's blowing any Christmas crackers off or any noisemakers, so hard to tell if it's really exciting. I'm just here sitting in my computer room, wondering what everybody's thinking about this stuff. So that's your Packard for 1930, the Phaeton, yeah, again another nice one. And along with that series, there's also the Boat Tail Speedster. Now this one I have not taken out of the wrap, but it's mine. I have to build it. My dad built this. I have to build it. Yeah. I don't know if this is an original issue of this actually. Oh no, it's a remake. 75. Copyright 1975, 1979, 1995 by Monogram. But one thing that's interesting with this one is if you notice in here, you got the driver's seat and it's up in this position, and behind there is a little metal box to open up. And then the passenger seat is actually pushed right to the back in there. So the driver is ahead and the passenger is actually behind, which is quite an interesting concept for these luxury cars. Oh, and the other thing about this is you notice the radiator is here and then there's sort of a bit of the radiator that points out. This is actually a stone shield, and that's designed so when you're going down the old country roads and there's rocks and maybe there's somebody in front of you, that they're not going to kick up a stone and throw it right through the center of your radiator. Oh, thanks, Rizzo. Unless you're mentioning Rod Regis's videos. Yeah. So, yeah, that stone shield through there. Actually, Rod Regis, there's something that I had. It was a magazine. Got lost in the High River floods, sadly. But what it was is when Packard was still in business in the early 50s, there was an artist that drew up all these sketches of these different types of Packards. Like one was a Coupe de Ville and everything else. One was a race car version of a Packard and all this. So some rich guy, I guess, because it's always a rich guy, right? Who else has money to do these things but rich people? Anyway, this rich guy, he saw these sketches and he wanted to build these cars out of the sketches. So he went to old wrecking yards and stuff and found a whole bunch of Packards. These are all based on the 53 Packard, 51 to 53 era. And he took those and he remade them into the race cars and everything from the sketches. But he took all the Packard straight eights and he bored them out, ported them, polished them, all that stuff that, never was done to them originally. And then he took these cars around in some of those classic road races, that they have in Europe and everything. I forget what they are, but they're like the limited era class. So you can only bring up to 1960 and nothing earlier than 1934, those kind of races. So I don't know what they call, like Tour de Force or something. But anyway, he was saying in this magazine that I lost in the flood that the Packard that he made into the race car, ported and polished and all that, was able to outrace Ferraris. And that was with the stock engine, only, altered a bit. So you don't need to rip that whole motor out and stick in a Chevy V8 or something like that. So, yeah, again, very nice. Very nice. Okay. And the Packard fun does not stop because I have more. I have 1/18 scale. These ones are interesting. They came from Testers. I'm not too sure how many people actually have these in their collection. Again, 1/18, so die cast with some mixed plastic. Now, my dad got me these because he found them somewhere and they're on a discount. This is back in the early 2000s, I guess. So he got some and then he got duplicates for me. I don't know if he ever built his. I know I haven't built mine. But they are kind of interesting. They're all pre-painted. I can do an unboxing of this when I run out of 1/25 scale cars. Again, very nice. The Brewster, of course, is the one that's got the upper door portions with the hard convertible roof inside. Very nice. These do have, let's see. This authentic replica comes with a highly detailed engine and compartment with real rubber tires, opening doors, working steering with many chrome and painted parts. And I do believe the hinges on here will actually operate in the way that the hinges work. So that would be like a piece of metal sticking out here, and then sort of bent over like that, or more round, and then the other one doing the same thing with the pin going through the top. So when you got them hinged, they're like this, right? And then your door opens. I'm going to try to see. I've been watching this guy on YouTube. I think his channel is something like A4 models, something like that. Anyway, this guy is from Korea, and he makes. He's amazing. This guy. He takes. You know how you get like every now and again you get a model kit, and it's like maybe like a Hasegawa or something, right? And it's just body, a crummy interior tub, and then the chassis underneath, and then you stick the wheels through with metal rods, right? Those simple Japanese ones. So what this guy does is he'll take his mini drill and he'll replace this with a needle, sewing needle, the drill bit, and he'll go and he'll open up all the door panels and the trunk and everything, and he will build the insides of everything, so like the door jambs and all that. Then, if it doesn't have a motor, he will make the motor out of cardstock and evergreen styrene strips and everything. And then he'll take aluminum sheeting and cut them into strips and then turn them into the hinges, proper hinges and everything. So, yeah, they do it all, or he does it all just like the real car. And he's even done stuff that I've never seen anybody do. So he's working on a Mini Cooper right now. And this is the Tamiya one. And the thing's about that big, 1/25th scale. The back trunk door is molded to the body. So are the side doors. The hood is the only thing that comes off. So he's opened it up so you can open up the door, and he put in the door jamb. And inside the door jamb, you know how there's that rubber weather stripping goes around inside the door jamb? He actually has put that in using, God, what is it, like the really tiny evergreen styrene rod, so he bends it up into shape and it looks fantastic. The other thing, he's got a video where he's working on a Hyundai Pony. I know, like the best car ever. But it's like a 1967 Hyundai Pony. And he had to build in the entire engine bay, the engine, everything. But inside the engine bay, I guess the outer fender well comes up and then it sits flat like this. And then the inner is here and drops in. There's a weld across the top. And he's made that weld using the very thin styrene strip, melted it with the glue, and then stuck his knife into it, sort of like this, all the way down. And it looks like a real crummy weld job from the past, before the what do you call it? The machinery does it now, with the robot goes in and the arm goes across and it welds. Perfect weld. This is like really welded like the old way. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so I'm looking into making opening hinges and stuff by watching his videos. Here's the other Packard I have, the last one, another 1/18 scale. This one is the Brewster. What was the difference between that and the other? Well, the other was the LeBaron. I'm sorry. There's the Brewster. This one has the artillery wheels. My dad always loved these on the old cars. Get rid of the spokes and have these big artillery discs. Again, much of this would be shared with the other Testors Packard, but this one does have the additional different pieces and whatnot to make it into the Brewster. Again, another nice model that I should unbox one of these days when I change my evil ways. But for now, I'm just going to ride on. Okay. So here's one. This is a little diecast I bought. Now, there were three, back in the 30s, there was the 3 Ps. These were the luxury cars. Packard, which you've seen, Peerless, and Pierce Arrow. And this one is a Pierce Arrow. Now, I had to get this. I know it's a die cast. I didn't build it or anything. But I had to get this just because it is so hard to find any of the cars other than Packard in that big 3, big P thing. And this one has the opening door, but it's not got the right hinge in there. This is the big loop arm sort of hinge that swings wide open. This is sort of like the style that it should be in a trunk inside there. This one should have, again, the 2-part, that style of hinge that sticks out of the side of the door. Potentially. I'd have to look at that, actually. But either way, it should be something like that. Neat little die cast. Posable wheels again. The only thing that was odd about this is it had a bumper on the front, much like this. Then the bumper fell off, and when I went to put it back on, I was like, hey, wait a minute. It's supposed to, there's 2 little pins underneath here. And the bumper has this flat plate, and it's supposed to pop up on the pins. Well, the holes don't match. And I can't figure out what's going on with that. It's like it's got a longer bumper than what's supposed to be on the car. So I just left it off. But the rich guys will have to hit a tree, I guess, in the front. I don't know. Okay, so that's basically all the 1930 type stuff. So here's another one I have. The Johann 31 Cadillac. Johann had a whole bunch of these ones, and I was hoping to get them because my dad has them all. I guess I'd inherit them maybe. But this one is like the dual cowl Phaeton, or how do you spell it? Phaeton. And there's one that has, it's like the chauffeur-driven car. So it's got, this part comes up and goes across, and it's got a wicker body on the side and everything. That's the one I want to get. But my dad built that, so I guess I do get it, but I won't be able to build it, These ones have the posable wheels as well. I do believe it's got the little ball and socket thing with the gear on it. Let's just see here. So I did start to build this at one point, but I didn't get very far. There we go. I painted it this gold color. My dad didn't like the gold. He says, they never came in gold. My dad was like that. But this one I used, I should finish this thing actually. It's a bit of bare metal foil on that running board. And then as you can see, it's got a dual cowl. So in the back, there's a crank on there. And I don't know, did this have a fixed window? I can't remember. The crank has something to do with the window, I do believe, but I don't think it goes up and down. I don't know. And then there's a spot there. So I do believe there's an instrument gauge in there or a clock or something so that the people in the back can either see how fast the driver's going or what time it is. Yeah. This one has a little trunk in the back here, which is open. You can open, which is different from the Packard, which had the trunk mounted on the back. Now, this gold color actually came from, I was in auto body collision repair and somebody gave me a pint of this gold color. So I don't know. I think it looks good. I'm going to leave it. Don't care what my dad said back in the day. There's the frame and part of the engine. Johan had the engine all chromed up in there, which again was quite nice. Frame is straight, so that's good. But this was the color it was molded in. You ready for this? Woo! Toothpaste blue. Anyway. Oh, and Johan had this intricate system of stacking the styrene inside there. This was so that nothing touched and nothing scratched. So you didn't need a plastic bag. They're quite ahead of their time. There it is there, the frame drop design. The only problem is if you get one of those out of sequence and you can't figure it out, it never goes back in the box ever again. So there it is. This is a V16 engine. So there's something for your hot rod idea. make a 16-cylinder mega motor for these old classics. Okay, there, it's not even going in well. Oh yeah, body by Fleetwood. So these companies here, like Fleetwood and that, Cadillac would supply them the radiator and the frame, possibly the fenders and the hood and the cowl, I guess. Anything from behind the cowl usually was built by a coach builder company, and Fleetwood was one of them. And Fisher is the other one that was a GM. And I don't know about the modern cars, but I know going into the 70s, like on my 72 Oldsmobile outside, they still had the little nameplate that said Body by Fisher in it. I don't know if they still have that or if they, dropped that later on. I mean, nobody buys new cars, right? I'm just kidding. Of course they do. Just not me. I'm not one of the rich guys. But perhaps if I sell more models on the website and get 10 million views on YouTube every day, I could be one of the rich guys, and then I can buy one of these and tell you all what it's like. Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, here's one from 31. This again is not a model, but how many of you have these? Now you notice on the tire all these funny numbers on the white walls. This is a radio. And somebody gave this thing to me. It's like in a garage sale, and they bought it. One of my kid friends back in elementary school, I think. He had it for a little while and didn't like it, and then gave it to me. But yeah, this is a radio. So you want to know something funny about this? So it was missing this back box here that covers the battery. And my dad made one out of this really thick plastic. I think it was out of a refrigerator door or something. And I can't get this off. And there's a battery that's been sitting in the back here for about 30 years. Check this out. Here. Did you hear that little crackle? Try it again. Oh, wait. Let's do it this way. Speaker to speaker. Do you hear it go? And then a little bit of... This battery in here is about 30 years old, and it's still putting a bit of juice in here. The only thing is I can't seem to get a channel dialed in. And I can't get this plate off without, getting in and being super physical with it with a screwdriver. So anyway, and I do believe there was a few of these. This one is the Rolls-Royce. So this is a 31 Silver Ghost, I think. Can't quite remember. I don't have my Rolls-Royce hat on today. But there was one of these, and then I can't remember what else is in that series. Duesenberg or something. I haven't looked at these in a long time. And this one is second hand, possibly third hand. I guess I'm the third hand. So, yeah, I mean, some of that's lost to history. Where did this thing come from? I'm sure if you Googled it, you'd find it, but I can't do that in the middle of a live stream. So here's my other 1/18th scale model. This one I got from a guy I used to work with in a car dealership, actually. Good old Hubley kits. Hubley? Yeah. Or Hubley, sorry. Hubley. Hubley. Let's have a jubilee and build a Hubley. No, it's a Hubley. So Hubley, oh, it's musty too. It's a 31 Duesenberg. And again, another Phaeton, dual cowl Phaeton. Let's see, I'm trying to read this backwards. Model SJ Duesenberg. Yeah. This one's cool because I always like the exhaust dumps that pop out the side of the hood here. That's pretty cool. Now there's one problem with this kit. Why I have not built it, other than it's die cast. It's one of the front wheel spindles is cracked, and these die casts are not like die cast. Well, they are die cast. Die cast is all pot metal, and if anyone knows what pot metal is, basically in the what do you call that? the foundry or whatever, they have a big smelter, which is a big bowl that they heat up really super hot, and you chuck metal into it until the metal starts melting. So what happens is, like all things that boil in a big pot, right? Stuff rises to the top, and heavier things go to the bottom, and all the rest. So die cast metal is made from the slag that floats up to the top out of the smelter pot, and then someone fishes it off and quickly dumps it into whatever mold. The problem with that is it's all garbage metal. So you'll have, like, the inside metal is a bunch of strands if you're going on the molecular level. So all these strands, the particle strands hold the metal together. Well, in pot metal, you got all this other garbage in there. So you've got tin strands and steel strands and whatever crap floated off of the pure metal that was in the bottom part of this thing. So that causes a lot of weaknesses because these strands are not nice and tightly woven like in the steel down below. They're all mussed up with each other. So what happens with pot metal is if you drop it, and one of these weak strands just happens to be in the force of the impact of this thing dropping, it'll just shear in half. So that's what happened with that one spindle in there, is that it sheared in two pieces. So I don't know how I would pour a new metal spindle, or you can't weld the stuff either. You can't, I don't know if you could solder it. Probably not. It's basically garbage metal. But at any rate, this still ends up as a nice kit if you can find one that's not got a busted pot metal part in it. Again, look at how nice that is up and underneath. And I'll just open the lid on this thing. Musty, dusty. There's white walls and stickers with all these different license plates. No, it's the same license plate 6 times 213107 from Virginia, because Virginia is for lovers. I don't know. Yeah, look, neat stuff. There's the exploded image of it all. Look at all that stuff. Then it tells you all about it. You put it together with screws and everything. Again, nice kit. Very heavy. Heavy, it's not heavy. It's my brother. Yeah, so look at this. There's the body. So what you do with this is, now you're talking flash. Oh, it's 2 pieces. So whatever flash you have on here, like up in here, you can't just scrape that with a hobby knife. You have to actually file it with the file. Oh yeah, so there's what I'm talking about. If you can see that, see how many different colors are just within this section here. You've got like a light, shiny, almost, let's see, let me look at the other one while I'm describing this one. It's almost like galvanized steel. You know what I mean? So you've got some really light, shiny color sitting right beside a really darkish gray color. And then you got like a brown in there, which could be a bit of rust or something. And it's all these different things. So what this is all that different metal that was on that thing that they were melting down that floated to the top. So some of this is tin, some of it is zinc, some of it's God knows what. And so if you've got a dense piece and it gets hit hard enough or whatever, or like a screw forces it apart or something to that effect, you're getting like a molecule of zinc next to a molecule of tin, and they're not really bonded to each other, in much a way, shape, or form. And that whatever impact will split it off because tin doesn't want to stick to zinc or, something to that effect, right? But man, the flash, this is another thing about this. The flash inside there, all that's got to be filed out with needle files and everything. Like I say, you just can't use your hobby knife because that'll dull the blade right off the thing and nothing flat. Look at how much is on that frame rail. Even now, I'm almost 50, and this is intimidating me. I can't even look at this. Anybody want a die-cast Duesenberg? Oh, man. Here's there's your fender arrangement. Gee, I hope I didn't just cut myself with this thing. Look at the flash in here. That's crazy. It's got more flash than the Flash. Able to leap tall buildings. Oh, here's another thing. Look at this. See these two things in here? You actually have to saw these out and remove those. Look at that. That's metal. It's only half, but still, look at how thick that is. That's insane. Insane! Although the tires are nice. They still got a bit of squish to them. This thing must have came out in the 60s. And boy, it's musty. I guess the guy I got it from was afraid to build it too. Dremel tool will make that sanding a breeze if you think it would be interesting to build large-scale metal model. That's true. Oh, my uncle built one of these. And it was sitting on his... my uncle and my grandma lived in the house that my grandpa built in 1938. And they had a sitting room with the fireplace, as you came in the main entrance thing. We always went in the kitchen way. So, but this was, of course, one of the houses that had stucco on the outside and stucco on the inside. Stucco was a big thing back then. And they had this coffee table, and they had the big Black Panther on the coffee table. Remember those? Antique store stuff. Black Panther, it's got the gold necklace thing on it. Well, he had one of these. Now, I think it was this one. The Ford town sedan, they're calling it. Because I remember it was a sedan. And he painted it red with black fenders. It looked really nice. So I always remember that. And it was heavy, and you weren't allowed to touch it, actually. Actually, they got more in here. Look at this. Another Packard for 1930, and then the 32 Chevrolet. And is that, yeah, two different Chevys, because one's a Phaeton, whatever. I have trouble with that word. Actually, my uncle's could have also been the Victoria, too. I know it was one of these sedans. Just can't remember which one. Because, we're talking back in the 80s, I can make that joke about the 60s. If you remember the 60s, you weren't really there, but that's the 80s. Maybe it's kind of the same. Actually, nowadays it does seem the same. Talking to a Gen Z kid, and if you say, I guess I could get away with that on myself now. Talk to a Gen Z kid, because they're all thinking, oh yeah, the 80s and all this, and then they mislabel punk rock as disco or something crazy, right? Oh no, not punk rock. New wave. New wave. People get that confused with disco nowadays. Can you believe that? Oh, yeah, metal and dust. Great. Okay. There's the 32 Chrysler Roadster. So again, another one. This one came out in 2004 at the Toy Fair. But again, another one of those kits that came out originally in the 70s by MPC. And then, AMT bought MPC. So there's always this label switch around every now and again. Round 2 is trying to correct that. But then I noticed Round 2 originally was Polar Lights. I think it's the same people that own the company. And they took a model cars that are made by Lindbergh originally. Now, this is like 1990s Lindbergh, right? They'll take that and rip off the Lindbergh logo and put on an AMT one. So they're just as guilty. It's those label swapping all over the place. Anyway, yeah, like Roger Ray just says over there, this is a good kit. Very nicely done. I have had one before in the Prestige series, but this is a sad part. I was young at the time, and mine had a slight warp in the frame. Okay. So I had some success with this at the time. But when you have a warped frame, there was a technique in one of the model car magazines, and it said you can take the frame, and with a hair dryer or a heat gun, you can position the frame down so it's straight on a wooden board or something, and then go over it with a heat gun, and it'll take the warp out and restore it to where it's supposed to be from the molding uh, process at like AMT or whatever. So I did that with my Prestige Series 32 Chrysler Roadster, and the frame went, and I went, ah! So it's down there in pieces and no frame for any of this. But this one has the opposable wheels. It's got the steering column comes down, so you got your steering wheel, and then the shaft comes down, and then there's this gear knuckle at the bottom, and then on the tie rod end there's another gear that goes this way, something like that. So when you turn the wheel, and the gear going this way has an arm thing on it, which hooks up to the linkage on your steering. Pardon me. So when you turn the wheel, the arm down here moves and turns this thing like the real car would have. Except the only problem with that is the steering box gears are like 4 times bigger than what they would be on the real car. But still, turns out nice. And you do get the gangbuster stuff. This comes with the top that's up. You get 2 figures in here. Now, the most recent edition replaced the motorbike because apparently this one came with a motorcycle. And you're supposed to have a gangster in the car getting away and a beat cop or detective, I guess, chasing behind him with the motorbike. And the motorbike has been missing until the most recent edition of the AMT kit. If anybody has any figures they want to give me or whatever that they don't want, that would be nice. I'm looking for figures for all this. I want to build a big diorama that's supposed to be back in the 30s. Dirty 30s. So what else is around here that I got? Okay. For built-ups. Now here's another one that's kind of cool. I was going to do this one for a what's in the box, but then I opened it and realized that everything's kind of half built. My dad was working on this, but never got it finished. Or maybe, let me think about that. No, my dad got his finished. I think I got this one. I don't know. It's some weird story. I forget. Another Italieri one. This is a 33 16-cylinder all-weather Cadillac Phaeton, whatever. And again, very nice. Now, I actually have 2 in here because one of these I got at a model kit show, and this was somebody built this thing very badly. And so I ended up with it somehow. I mean, this one's ready for firecrackers. I don't know. Oh boy. But yeah, it's kind of a mess. So then I got another one of these. I think, or my dad gave me one. Something to that effect. And again, pretty nice, but the engine has been started on it. And part of the chassis. So it's kind of hard to do a what's in the box when it's going on this way, right? But the interesting thing about this kit, I think it says in here somewhere. Hang on, I got to find the English. German, Dutch. Yeah, here it is. Fleetwood. Okay, this is what's neat about this kit. Okay. Yeah, I might as well read this whole thing because, hey, it's my live stream. Cadillac Fleetwood 1933. This 1933 all-weather Phaeton. Anyway, combines both the mechanical quality of Cadillac and the Fleetwood coachwork in its attractive body style. But as elaborate and beautiful these automobiles may be, it is the V-type 16-cylinder engine which sets them apart from all other cars. They were built in limited series, and the owner's name and the serial number were engraved on a suitable plate and fixed to the car. Our model, this is cool, our model, a convertible sedan model 452C with true custom-built elegance. Okay, ready for this? Was especially built for Al, the jazz singer Jolson. Optional extras were genuine pigskin leather interior. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But the thing that's cool about it is Al Jolson. Al Jolson made, of course, the first talking film. I know it's now into controversy because of the whole Mammy thing, but still, it's a big part of history. And here you've got Al Jolson's Cadillac, and even that nice blueprinted schematic there too. So this will be a good one to build, but like I said, I can't really review it. Oh, yeah, I can't really what's in the box the thing because it's well, it is what it is, right? So yeah, I should mail this to Rod Rages. Do you want to? I've got the hood sides too. Yeah, there they are. There we go. He could, I don't know, do something with this man. That's so. That's kind of the problem. Like, I know there's a lot of you that like to get the old glue bombs and take them apart, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've done a few in my day too, back in my day. But that's always a headache you run into, though. Just how much of it can you take apart, and how much is like permanently junk, right? The other four-letter word, junk. Anyway, but that's a problem. So something like the L. Jolson Cadillac there, the one that's built, like it, when you start to try to take it apart, you run the risk of here's the part you need, here's the glue holding it there, and it's like that, like really like that. And then you try to take this apart. Well, people say, oh, put it in the fridge and all this stuff, and overnight it'll just magically crack off. And well, I've put stuff in the fridge for like 4 months and nothing's magically cracked off. you know so then you go, okay, well, I'll try to get it off, right? So you put something in there and it goes crunch, and then it shears this piece of plastic. So then there's a big thing like this where the glue blob has got your piece stuck on it still forever. So it's like, why did I buy this kit again? Oh yeah, it's an original whatever. The heck with it. Yeah, Rodriguez says the figures and the motorcycle came in the Gangbusters kit. He chopped up the motorbike, but it's an Indian. My dad liked the Indian motorbikes when he was around. He says the Indian was the only one that could really, the ball of death thing or whatever they call it, where you got the motorbike and you go in and it's a cage and then the guy rides up inside it and goes all over the place and everybody cheers and stuff. Says the Indian was the only one that people that were in that the cage of death, I guess it's called. That was the only motorbike they liked that motorcycle in, because the Indian motor is low on the frame. So the center of gravity is down low, whereas the Harleys, it's up. So when you do that thing in the Harley, you've got more of a chance to fly out of it and fall down inside there. But not with the Indian, because the Indian's motor was lower. So it had the proper gyroscopic effect for inside that cage. So interesting stuff. How do I know all this stuff? People told me. I read books. Okay, here's another classic. Now, I'm not totally sure if the Cord would have been considered a luxury vehicle in the era, or if it sort of fits somewhere in the middle. It's sort of hard to know with Cord and Auburn and that what demograph they're hitting. If this thing is sort of more of what we would call like a Mercury now, kind of in between, better than the Ford, but not as good as the Lincoln, but in the middle. I'm not 100% sure on Cord and Auburn Corporation, which is really the luxury car. But I do know that no matter where you are, if you go to a museum and want to buy one of these things, they're really expensive. So we'll just go with that. And this one is interesting because it's got front wheel drive with a flathead motor in there. And Cord was unique in the front wheel drive field back in the day. In fact, all their cars were front wheel drive in an era when everything was conventional, which was really amazing. And the gear or the differential comes out to the front here as a full differential, which again is another really cool one. My dad, of course, has one of these. He's got the maroon one, and I've got the cream and black top one. And I have unboxed this one on the channel. Again, nice kit. It's got the coffin nose, as they called it. Yeah, very, very well done. There is a sedan version of this car that's really cool, but I don't know if anyone's made it in like a resin or something. I can't recall. Again, this one has the here we go. The exhaust dumps that come out behind the fenders, much like the Duesenberg. So again, really cool. Well, 1/24 true scale, or as they call it on the box, 1/4 inch to the foot scale. Let's see if I can find that for a minute. I'll show you what it is. Oh, it does say 1/2 inch scale up there, but it also says 1/24, so that's good. So that figure that I had, the what's her name, Francois. This would be a cool car to put Francois beside. Francois, Mademoiselle. Okay, so that takes us out of the 30s. There is a who made it? Monogram again. 41 Lincoln Continental touring car, but I don't have that one. I'd like to get that one. Guess who has it? My dad. That's what happens when you were a little kid back in the 70s and your dad was like 40 something. Anyway. Okay, so that leads us to the 50s. Everybody loves the 50s because I say so. Anyway. Okay, what's going on? Oops, there goes some stuff. Okay, before we get into the 50s, I think this is a good opportunity for me to do a what do you call it? A channel thing. My name is Trevor Slescu. I'm the owner of Monster Hobbies in High River, Alberta, Canada. Actually, we no longer have a building, so we're Monster Hobbies online. And we had to close our building down because it's too expensive to try to run rent when COVID's going on and people can't show up because all of a sudden there's an outbreak here or something and everybody's got to shut down. And so it's easier for me to now become online. Everyone can see me. Everyone can see what my products are on the page. You just got to dig around a little bit. We are located at www.monster-hobbies.ca. We still have our phone number in operation. And we have a online web store, of course. So all our prices are in Canadian dollars, being a Canadian store. So if something looks expensive, just put our price in a money conversion thing and you'll see it's not too bad. Considering our dollar is now, I think they said 73 cents US. So we offer free shipping on Canadian orders over $75. We accept PayPal and credit cards like Visa and MasterCard through our Secure Pay system. And the Secure Pay system means that if you buy something, use your credit card, all that information gets eliminated after the purchase is made and the transaction goes through. And if you use the coupon code YouTube at the checkout, you'll save 10% off your next purchase, which if you're Canadian, that's really good because you're getting free shipping plus the 10% off. It's not bad if you're American either, but the shipping. And then you can sign up for our newsletter off on the side on our website. We do ship around the world. Anywhere Canada Post can go, we can go, and with tracking. I think the dust is getting in my nose. Okay, cars of the 50s. Actually, what I'll do is I'll start off with this one. And this is one that I built. I think you've seen it before. Not too sure. So here we have a Mercedes. Is this the 540 SL? Can't remember. Help me. Anyway, I do have a top for this somewhere. I just remembered, but I don't know where it is. But this one is basically, let's see who made this. Just says approved and authorized by Mercedes-Benz in Stuttgart, West Germany. West Germany. So this is old. well, I guess pre-1990s, because Berlin Wall fell in '89. So pre-1990s kit. This one is very simple. It's basically a promotional model. Although that guy in Korea, he could probably cut this open and build a whole Mercedes motor in here. He'd also cut this open, cut open the back here so you can take this off and pull the top out. I mean, I should be doing this stuff. I've got years in the hobby. Why do I suck? Anyway, okay, so there's the interior. Okay, I don't really suck, but I know what happened. When I opened the hobby shop, I used to be a big model car guy, right? And I do Star Trek kits and stuff like that too. Um, when I opened the hobby shop, I was building stuff, and then all the kids came in, and this is going on for generations now. So, because we opened the hobby shop in 2004, and we're still going, but now online, right? So anyway, hey, Big Charlie, how you doing? So as I was saying, when I opened the hobby shop, all my customers, of course, I had a lot of kids. Believe it or not, kids in a hobby shop. No, I'm just joking because I know a lot of people say the hobby is dead. Kids don't do this. So I'm saying there was kids in my hobby shop. No, but anyway, enough joking aside. Uh, so I was building model cars a lot, and then the kids are like, "Oh, we want to play Warhammer. Let's play Warhammer. Come play Warhammer with us. You're the store owner. You should have a Warhammer army." So over the next, let's give that 16 years or more, and still going, I have to build Warhammer army figures because this week the kids are beating me. So let's see. If I raise up the balance of power and buy this new model that came out, or another older model that'll give me better chance of winning, something like that. Let's build that. So then all of a sudden my focus on building model cars and everything. This is why everything I got is like, I built this in 1998 or whatever, because that focus is pulled into, okay, I got to build another 50 dwarves because I play dwarfs, 50 dwarfs so I can beat these other guys over here, the dragon guys or whatever else going on for whoever, the lizard men, the chaos warriors, the something else, the something else. And of course, the kids have infinite time and money on their hands, parent money too. So, so they're buying like this. Games Workshop just came out with this new box with 60 guys in it, and they have them all glued and built by like the following day that they bought it. Maybe not painted, but everything else. And then they're like, yeah, now I want to show how this works on the table so I can beat Trevor's army again. Yeah. And I'm still stuck with models from like 2 decades ago going, yeah, well, I got to build this one. I haven't got around to it, but I know it'll beat you guys to death, but I don't have time. So in that big mess and mix is what happened to my model car building time. Oh, well, anyway. So that was I think that's a 53 Mercedes. So here's another one that I've got in process, but I don't know. Now I don't think I need this one anymore. And this is dusty. I mean, you can see this on film here. Like, so you might know what this is, or who makes it now. So I'll just give you a little minute here just to mentally size this thing up. Who makes this now? Where have you seen this? What is this? Yeah. Ooh. You're looking at a resin repop of the old Revell 57, what is it, Cadillac, what is it, the Broham something? Anyway, that's what this is. So for the longest time, now Atlantic has brought this out again, and you can buy it now as a plastic kit. So no, it's not Christine. So yeah, this is hang on. Get this out of here. So what happened is this is from the 90s when you couldn't get it because I do believe this original Revell model only came out in the 50s and then it disappeared or whatever, and now Atlantis, when they got the molds from Revell, the old ones, in that auction a couple of years ago. This was in there, and now they've re-released it. So you can buy this now in plastic. So I don't think I need this resin thing anymore. And that's good because this is done. If any of you know about resin casting, especially when it was first getting popular in the 90s, 80s and 90s, this is what was known as a slush casting. And boy, if you look at it now, you can't really see it, but this is all chunky in here. So what a slush cast is, they'll get the original model and they'll build a box. And I guess they blank the windows over too, so it doesn't pour the stuff in. So they build a box. Oh yeah, you can see the slush in there. See this back panel? It's just like somebody took their finger and went right in there. So anyway, so they get a box, build a wooden box for the model, and they sink the model, or they set the model in the box upside down. And they might put a block or something in here, just to get the sides up. No, maybe not. Anyway, they stick this thing in, and there's a rubber compound that comes in a bottle. And you mix this rubber compound and you pour it into the mold, and you put your car in it. I think that's how they do it. You put your car into it up to a certain level, right? And then you build up the rest of the rubber on the sides and everything. And then you that's how you make a rubber mold. And then once the rubber mold is ready, you pull the model out of the rubber mold and you're left with a negative. And then you take your resin, you make the 2-part resin, and you mix it up. And then you have to get it in the mold somehow, right? And then when the resin is set in the mold, you pull the resin plug out, which is this, out of the mold. Now, there's a few ways you can make resin get into that mold. One of them is through injection molding, but then you can't use a rubber mold. You have to use something harder, because when you inject resin or anything into a rubber mold, the rubber mold will expand out like a balloon. So you need something to lock it in tight. The other way to avoid it ballooning is to take the resin in a paintbrush, dip the resin in, paint, let that kind of harden up a bit, make a new batch of resin, dip your brush in, paint, and paint, and paint and dry, and paint and dry, and paint and dry, and paint and dry, until it becomes thick enough that it's not going to bust in half when you pull it out of the mold. And that painting of the resin is what they called slushing. And all these things are slush cast. And they are horrible inside there because, like I said, it's like somebody took and went and with this brush. So the outside looks good, but when you try to put it into something, like Rod Regis would tell you, you'd need your Dremel tool and sit there for hours going, with your Dremel, because this doesn't have that nice, like blade of plastic, perfect curvature inside there, like a injection molded kit. This thing's like as it's going around the sides. So, like I said, now that this has been re-released as a plastic kit that I can buy for my cost, since I'm a wholesaler, right? I could just take this and chuck it. Take this car and chuck it. And there's the interior. And this thing, it's heavy. Like, it's almost as heavy as that die cast over there. I did a good job. I mean, I put the little piping in around the seats with the bare metal foil and everything. It's a nice interior, but the problem with the slush cast in here is when you try to go and put your windows in, because all that slushy resin, it doesn't want to conform to the glass. Like, it forces a nice windshield to try to fit into its slushy mold. There's the undercarriage. This one was designed that you took the Monogram 59 Cadillac and gutted it, and then put all the guts into this frame or this chassis, because the chassis is designed to fit underneath the broom. I mean, it's good for what it was, But is it worth it anymore? There's a grill. But then when you turn it around, you can see all that slushy beauty. But yeah, there's our windshield for it, or one of them. Vacuum formed. Again, another problem with the vacuum forming is that if there's this one's pretty good, but I have seen ones where they've got junk on the buck of the vacuum form. So when it comes down, it vacuum forms all the little dust into the window and makes them as pebbles. I don't know. There's the wheels I were going to put on it. These are from the, what was that from? Oh, I do believe they're the custom ones out of the El Camino. I don't know. How many people know that part particularly well? Okay, getting rid of that dust bunny. What do we got? I do have the Ghostbusters one for $59. Actually, wait, before that, pardon me. These ones. How many of you have built these? The Lee Cadillac El Dorado Seville. These ones are actually quite nice. In 1958. The other one there was 57. What's interesting about these is they're all the same kit. The only thing that's different is the roof, which pops in and out, I do believe. Let's see. Yeah, see, molded in green. But then up top is the roof plate. And there's two, no, I guess there's no notches in there. No nachos, but it's supposed to peg in somehow in here. Big green machine from Caddy. These Lee kits are pretty interesting. Now, what makes them interesting is each one of them has an electric motor in it with a worm gear, because the Chinese and the Japanese are all big onto making these things as models that you can use as toys, which is a bizarre concept in itself. Actually, I do have one more luxury car I should have shown, but wasn't too sure on how that really fit in. It's the Trumpeter, the Chinese car that the president drove around in China in. But I don't know. I guess it would be luxury, but these are more like luxury cars that normal people could buy, you know, that didn't need to be a king or something, or a dictator or whatever. Here's the other one. I did start to build this one. Kind of ran into some weird issues with it, though. Maybe now that I'm older, I can give it a second try. Painted this with gold. Look at this gold. Definitely not quite right. Oh, there's a battery in here. Oh, yes, I know what part of that problem was. You have to cut the hood out. They give you a motor, but they seal up the engine bay. So you got to cut the hood out. My dad built one of these, and I think he had problems with it too. It's just one or two little things that are just off on this that are just enough to make it, where you've almost got it built, but then you can't get the next step unless you do something severe. Yeah, that's how weird they are. So I painted the white walls on this. Got the motor in the back. Oh, got a little overspray underneath there. Can't really see it. Also, the exhaust manifolds, or the exhaust pipes, don't quite seem to really want to fit to the exhaust headers on the motor. Ooh, yeah. There we go. Note the operation of that motor in there. I got it in backwards. It can reverse up to 70 miles an hour. No, just kidding. Okay, get out of there. Wait, where's the switch? There. Wow. How do you like that? Ugh. Holy jeez. Okay. There goes that. There's the motor. Cadillac blue. But yeah, there was there's weird issues with this thing. I should attempt it again. Get it over with. Bite the bullet. Build the Caddy. What color do you paint the Caddy? That's what I'm starting to hate with models now. What color do I paint this thing? It's also got the posable wheels because you need them. You need these to pose over so that you can make your Cadillac go in circles so it doesn't go straight off down the highway at 60 miles an hour, never to be seen again. This one also has real springs inside. There, see? Although it doesn't actually have the swinging mechanisms to make the springs activate, but they still are nice to see in there. Oh, got some Chevy Impala hubcaps inside there for some reason. It's really interesting. 64 Impala. Yeah, I was also not too sure to show Impalas in here because I know the Impala is a luxury Chevy, but then being a Chevy kind of puts it down into the Chevy category, which was the affordable family cars sort of thing. So I kind of ruled out Impalas. Okay, let's get back to the Ghostbusters. So again, I wasn't quite sure on this one. It is a Cadillac, but it's also a service vehicle. So it's one of those, where does it fit in? But this one, if you want it to be like the guy in Korea that I mentioned before, A4 Hobbies, I think. This is a beauty if you want to like cut the hood open and put all the engine and engine bay detailing in here. This would be a good one because this one doesn't have any of that. Same with the doors. If you could cut those open and hinge them and cut through the glass and everything, and even on the back tailgate, make that open up. This thing would just be tremendous. I mean, imagine like the Ecto 1A with the motor in there, with even posable wheels if you could wing it, and opening doors so you can see all the nice computer stuff that's in there and the ghost busting equipment and all the rest of it. That'd be a good one. So there's two of these on the market. There's the Ecto 1A polar lights, and there's the Ecto 1 here, the polar lights from the first movie with all the stuff on the top. And then there's the Ecto 1A, and it's got the side skirts up here, and it says "We're back" on it with the neon sign that blinked off and on, as well as some other details. It doesn't have the busting cannon in there. It's got some other stuff. I've shown that model before. Pardon me, it's up on the shelf. But if you want the original first movie one, there it is. And I think it would be cool if they made one for Ghostbusters Afterlife that was this, and we could build it with the rust and everything, the worn out version, and have that door that slides open with a spin chair for busting ghosts. The only thing that I didn't, the one criticism I'll give on Ghostbusters Afterlife is it didn't have Slimer in it. It had another ghost called, was it Chomper or something? But I want my Slimer. I paid to see Slimer. By gum. Okay, here's the Monogram 59 Caddy, and I have unboxed this one on the show. I also unboxed the Ghostbusters one there too. This one is molded in pink. This was the first version of the Monogram Cadillac that came out. So this would be about 1993. Let's see, where are you? 92. How's that for memory? 1992, and this one is very well detailed, goes together nicely. You even get the chrome in pre-cut chrome, I think, that goes along that side spear. Let's just take a look. Well, there we go. That's one way to do it. You get that chrome side spear. I bet James is laughing at me on that one. Okay, so you got that chrome side spear, and there it is. You just peel it off and stick it in there. That's okay, James. It was an unbuilt kit, not a built one. So even though it fell and made a sound, it didn't like shear everything off like my 29 Model A. So that's good. Okay, let's this is joys you get in live stream, folks. Let's just okay, yeah. I'm gonna fight every bit of the way here. Okay. All right. Do the technical difficulty sign. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Round 2 doesn't have the Ghostbusters license right now. That is why they release a Caddy as a Surf Shark Caddy. Nice. I didn't know that. I thought they were just doing another thing, you know, because they're always trying to pop something out and do another thing. But I wouldn't mind that the Surf Shark, because if you look at the top of the Surf Shark, it actually has the correct ambulance. No, wait. Do I have that right? Okay, never mind. I'm going to stop talking until I take a look at that again. But I do believe, how about that? I do believe, in my honest opinion, after only seeing that kit once, and not really too interested in it because it looks like a World War II aircraft, kind of something bizarro. I do think it actually does have a different top. It doesn't have the ghost-busting equipment. I think it's got the actual 59 Cadillac ambulance thing with the pontoon top. But again, like I only saw it briefly and was not interested because, well, you know. Oh, I missed one out of the 50s. The Lincoln Futura. Now, this one, of course, was a concept car. So, but again, based off the Lincoln. So that's got your luxury element into it. Now, I was dumb when I built this thing, or tried to build it. See what I wanted to do with this, which I believe is a big mistake now that I'm older and wiser, is I wanted to make this stock. You know, like it is stock. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to enhance this thing because it's all built in little separate pieces and everything that you glue together. So I've added in some styrene reinforcing under here. Yeah, this did become the Batmobile after Big Charlie, but it was also used in another film before that. And I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it was about an Air Force pilot or something, and he had this car. There's the interior. So what I did is I wanted to make this thing have more realism than just being a flat pan put together in 10-minute model. So I took the Edsel model kit from AMT at the time, because I did hear that, oh no, never mind. Anyway, I shortened up the Edsel frame, tried to get it inside here. I do believe, yeah, it does go inside. This has to hook underneath the front somehow, but it will go inside. And then I started to run into troubles with this thing, and it started to drive me really crazy. So I just said H with it, and I threw it in this never to be seen again. Yeah, so the original Lincoln Futura, they built it for one of the auto shows, I think in 55, if I remember correctly. They built it for 50, let's just say it was 55 auto show. And the car was originally painted, no, it must have been painted this color. It's sort of like a sea green foam type color. So then after that car show, they had no use for it because, again, this is a show car, right? So they didn't have any use for the thing. And then a movie company borrowed it or bought it or something to that effect, and they painted it red. And then they used it in this movie that was in the 50s, sort of an obscure movie. If you look into the history of the Lincoln Futura, you'll see what that movie is. But I can't leave my computer here right now in the live stream. So, but anyway, yeah, the movie was about this Air Force pilot and his girlfriend, and some romantic comedy or thing happened, and that's where they used the car. And then the car sat in the whatever movie studio lot forever and started to fall apart. And then when the Batman series came by, George Barris and everybody went in the back lot and was looking for something to make the Batmobile out of, and there was this red rotted out Futura sitting there. So Barris said, "Oh, that looks cool," and they made the Batmobile out of that, more or less. I could have some details slightly off, but definitely that car was in another movie prior to the whole Batman thing. Just can't remember what the movie was. Something like, no, not Fireball 500, but something along that line, like the Thunder Jet or some stupid name. Anyway, what's my most recent car build? Good question. I think the last thing I made was a slot car, but that was just basically taking the body off and painting. Oh, yeah. The Back to the Future DeLorean slot car that I was making for the guy in Italy, that technically is my last model car, but it's not really a model car. It's a conversion between a slot car existing body and the Polar Lights Back to the Future car, which I got it done. I got the model made and everything, but it didn't have the low sleek, like this guy in Italy, he was watching a YouTube video. He's a big Back to the Future guy, and he's watching this YouTube video where this guy converted, put the DeLorean body onto a Porsche 934, whatever, the one that they use in racing in like Le Mans and whatever those circuits are, right? Basically a GT3 body. It's a GT3 car. Anyway, this GT3 car, the front nose of it drops straight down to the ground, and then it's got huge wheel wells for these big slicks that go in these things, and it's built like that. Whereas the DeLorean has a low, sleek body, and the nose of it goes up into a point, and the back rolls up, kind of thing, on the bottom. So I had to convert this, basically a brick, into an aerodynamic shape, or whatever you want to call this. And yeah, I had to shorten the frame and all this other stuff. And then I'm halfway through this thing, and I'm making YouTube videos showing everybody, okay, here I am, because I'm really made the video for the customer so he could see where I was. But then other people got to see it, right? Of course, because YouTube. So I get halfway through, and this guy says, "Oh, you used the wrong Porsche on that. It should have been the 1965 Porsche, whatever the heck. Because if you look at the body dimensions, it's the same size, and then the wheels are narrow and skinny, like the DeLorean, 80s, well, not narrow and skinny, but more to that shape, not like this wide and that tall. They're more like that wide and all this stuff." There you go. It started with a kiss. Glenn Ford and Debbie Reynolds. You're right, Big Charlie. Started with a kiss, ended up with the Batmobile. 1959. And they painted it red. Anyway, so that was kind of the last almost model car I made, but not really. But I had to cut the thing in half and shorten it. And it's a plastic that doesn't like to glue, but I found out that Crazy Glue really likes Crazy Glue. It sucks it right in there. Make everything nice. It couldn't even pull anything off of that. That was great. But any other glue, fall off. Anyway, getting back to this, here's another your last luxury ride, I guess. The Cadillac Heavenly Hearse by Johan. I wish I had 16 of these things, but I only have the one. 2 would be good too, because I would build one as a Heavenly Hearse with all this hippie surfy stuff on it. Put it on a beach scene. I want to do that. I want to make dioramas where it's like one's a beach scene, and then the next one's in the woods, and you got the off-roads and everything. Well, of course, I'm still thinking like a hobby shop, right? There's all your surfy stuff. And then on the other side, you can build this stock, which is another thing I'd like to do for more of a serious thing, right? And this one has the back tailgate opens up and everything. I've done a full review of this on my channel, so just look for that. Very nicely done. Very nice kit from our friends at Johan. I think that's a 66 or 67, which means I jumped ahead again, because here's the AM65 Lincoln Continental. And this one is, again, one of the Nostalgic Series kits. 3-in-1. Lots of cool customizing parts. Round 2, I do believe, just re-released this again. And I don't think they got the up and down imaging. They've got the going across the normal way imaging, which this one really made it for a very tough thumbnail on the YouTube channel, because all my other ones are this way, and this is the only one that's like this. It's just, yeah. But at any rate, don't know how many of you have this Lincoln. It's again another very nice one. Here's your decals. There's the wood grain using a photographic process, and it looks like wood. My my friend James knows what I'm talking about there. We had a little funny, interesting discussion about color film and wood and browns. Anyway, this one again is pretty cool. It's got the little support stand here just so that the windshield doesn't get all caved in and in the molding process. Very much a promotional style model. One of the guys I was watching on YouTube, they actually cut all this out of here. Not on the Lincoln, it was on the Chev or something. But they cut all this out and they put in a whole new differential in here and then reworked it so it is like a normal car, you know. Looked great. I forget what he is. Oh, that's the other thing. I think it's the same guy. Okay, so what I did was I am going around YouTube now. You know how I have my tips and techs stuff, right? Where me and Danny the dog are showing everybody how to, you know, spin your tires in the machine and all that and sand off the tread and all that stuff, right? So I thought, well, why don't I take some tips and techs from some of these other guys, like the A4 guy from Korea and whatnot, more high-end tips and techs. And I'll go around the web and I'll look at some of my subscribers and stuff, and I'll see what everybody has. And if there's something that's sort of like a really high level end tip and tech scratch building thing, I'm going to put it in. I've got a new playlist for these videos, and it's tips and techs from the web or from YouTube or something. That's what I've called it. So look out for that. One of them, and I think it's the same guy that cut the bottom out of whatever molded in thing he had. And this was just posted in a Facebook group. This is how I found this. It's a guy, and he takes the radiators in the model car kits. He cuts off the top tank, cuts off the bottom, and then he uses H-channel and a bunch of other stuff, and he builds the side supports. Then he takes screen like this, like on the microphone here, only finer, much finer, right, in scale. And I'll put that in between, sandwich it in between the radiator. So now your radiator has the proper radiator screen inside, and you can see right through it, just like the real thing. So I put that, a link to that in that tips and techs thing. I thought it was pretty cool. Oh man, getting the dust. Oh, before I get into the 70s, I just realized I got this sitting over here. There's my Johan 64 Cadillac. This one I originally had all that cream color, and I painted the body with Tamiya, potato, patata. Anyway, I painted it with clear Tamiya. And then a few years later, it was kind of getting dilapidated looking. So I took it apart. I kept the interior the same because I did. And I repainted this thing with Tremclad green and then reworked it all. I can't remember this Cadillac logo. Oh yeah, it's a decal. I found that decal on there for the Cadillac logo. I can't remember where I found it. Probably one of the Lee kits or something weird. But it ended up looking really good. It's got Rod Rageous. It's got your license plates on here. It's from Texas. Needs the bull horns like Boss Hog. Anyway, this one is nice. A piece did break out of this, sadly. Oh yeah. Got that sticky hinge in that one corner. Driving me crazy. There we go. Oh yeah, you see what I The little pin broke out. What I did on these hinges, they were flat blades, and I drilled out inside there to make it look like how the real hinge looks. That two-piece swing bit. There's the motor in there. Found out that the Cadillac does not have green motors, but that was later in my life journey. Again, this one is very nice. Bare metal foil on there. The antenna is actually a pinhead that I stuck in. I even made up the little plate. Again, I had all those car modeler magazines telling you how to do this stuff. Ooh, look at those big screws in the back. Ooh, can't remember if I put that in or no, I must have. That can't be part of the kit. Oh yeah, no, the kit had the pins. They got rid of the screws. Originally, they were everything was screw mounted on the promo type chassis like this thing is. And Johan and everybody got rid of the screws and they replaced them with these stupid plastic pins. And the plastic pin sticks out into this thing and has a head. It's like a pin with a collar. And the head of that collar pin does not sink into something nicely and make it all flat and flush. It sticks out like that, like jamming thumbtacks underneath the thing. So I thought that was stupid. So I ended up finding two screws and did it like the proper way because it works out to be the same, but the screw actually does look better than those pins. But anyway, yeah, again. Oh, I think I painted this green because the old Cadillac motor is green, like the 30s. So I figured, I mean, this is the days before internet, before YouTube, Pinterest, and Google search and all that stuff, where you could just type in what color is a 64 Cadillac engine and then find 10 million pictures of it in every way, shape, and form, dilapidated, burned exhaust on it, brand new from the factory, original stills, black and white photos, all that stuff. This is in the days when nobody had that. So if you knew somebody with a 64 Caddy, I actually did. Now that I think about it, different story in a minute here. The only way you could get this right is if you knew somebody with a 64 Caddy. I mean, because you could be wrong looking at a 67 Caddy motor, you know. But now, Google search, you're done. So that's the thing I like in our modern age. Where's this going? Is that everything is basically at the tip of your fingers. Pretty much I'll give it 97% is at your fingertips because you can always come across something you'll never find. No matter how hard you try to type it in. I know I've been there. Tried to find I was working with a group of people at one point. We were going to do a World War I diorama, which never materialized. But it was trying to find. There was a battle at Cambrai back in 1917, and there was a Canadian division. Some were on horseback, and others were just troops. And they were supposed to swing in at this one angle at Cambrai and break behind the German lines and get into this town. I forget where the town is now. And, just basically be there for when the British came in, right? So it's sort of a pincher move. Anyway, the Newfoundland Regiment made it in there. And this diorama we were going to make was going to be that portion of Cambrai where the Newfoundland Regiment got in. So we Google searched the Newfoundland Regiment. Could only find one little sentence about this thing. And then we Google searched Cambrai. We Google searched the name of this town where they ended up. We Google mapped it. We Google everything on this thing. And our amount of information was about that big and very, very inconclusive. We found a photograph from a French postcard because they ended up at this canal. And it was like a boat canal. So the boats came in behind, and then there was like a landing platform. And there's like these gates that go up and down to let the boats in the canal. And the canal fills with some water so they can go up the hill or whatever the heck it was. And, this kind of thing. And there's like a a building here and a building here, and then a staircase that comes down, all this stuff, right? We found 2 pictures of that. One was a French postcard from before the war, so about 1911, and it showed sort of the front, the back, a little bit kind of thing at this funny angle. And the other picture we found was after the war when this whole building and everything was blown to bits. And then on the Google Map thing, you could actually walk on the Google Map around this area, but it really did not show anything of what we needed. And that was a 5-month headache trying to find that information. So I've been there where you can't find something on Google, and that was it. And I never want to go back to that again. And we never did make that diorama, so it didn't matter in the end anyway. Anyway, getting back to our classic cars, here's the Cadillac El Dorado 1970 hardtop. This one is cool. I wish I had 2 of these as well, because you can build this custom Alpine edition, and it's got all these decals on here from ski lodges and everything, which is unique. You never see that in kits. And it's kind of, yeah, like got that really interesting sort of, like this could almost exist in Europe, kind of look to it. Like it's got the rolled pan in the back, and I don't think they show you the front of this thing as the custom. It kind of give you a hint that it's got this hood scoop and then the El Dorado grill in the front. El Dorados, again, were front-wheel drive Cadillacs based off the Oldsmobile Toronado. So you get the 3 bucket seats because there's no transmission hump back there. But look, you get the skis and the ski pole holder, and that's the what do they call this thing? The Latham blower assembly. So remember the Model T, the 1925 AMT Model T? It also has this Latham blower on it because the custom motor is the Lincoln motor in there. 50s one, I believe. Oh no, it's the what is it? The 430 MEL motor. It's the Mercury Edsel Lincoln, and I did a video on building that one on my channel here. So it's got that same setup inside, so that's cool to see it in a 70 Cadillac. And then there's the stock version. So of course I got to build them stock before I build them custom. That's my little rule, unless a model kit is already pre-built, like comes as a custom, like a Tom Daniels something or other, right? But basically, I'll build it stock first and then get the kit again and build it custom. But it's very hard to find another one of these without going to eBay, paying some crazy price, because of course Johann's no longer around. But boy, I'd sure like 2 of these. And I can build that winter ski scene. The other one I would like to put in here with the winter ski scene is the G Poncho by Revell or Monogram, Revelogram, let's say. And the one that comes with the Skidoo. That would be cool to put those 2 together somehow in that. And then I've got this one. This is, of course, 2 box bottoms because I didn't have a box. Another one that I picked up at a model car show. Let's see if I can open this thing. This one is missing a bumper, and it's annoying. It looks like the roof cracked. Ta-da! I think this is a 73 or 74 Johann El Dorado promo. And I was building it as a lowrider. That's why I got the gold on there instead of the regular chrome. Problem with bare metal foil seems, especially this gold. Whoops, I guess that dried out. Yeah, dang it. It tends to, like, it'll go around, right? No problems, it'll conform. But I always find that it seems like it wants to always flake off a little bit on one of the corners. And usually it's like when you want to go pick it up is when it will go whoop on you. So I don't know, it's very frustrating, but it looks good. Yeah, I should relook at this. There's the interior. The bucket hooks into the little tabs underneath. Ooh, I heard a crunch. Careful I didn't lose a part of that. Oh, this is really tight in here. There. There it is with that big interior with the really thick Cadillac seats. Real plush. And there's our underframe. got overspray on this. Some looks like gray primer. Can't really tell. Sorry. But yeah, all this goes. Look at that. Look at that exhaust pipe, that muffler there. Man, that muffler in real life, it must be like this thick. Yeah. And somebody put their back out trying to get that in the car. Okay, so there's the underpan. I wish model companies would scan in all the long-lost Johann models as well as some of the old AMT MPC models that the molds got transferred or busted. Yeah, I I put that very same question or conversation point, whatever you want to call that, on one of the Facebook groups earlier today or yesterday. There's that grill. Does it say on the license plate here? 76. Okay. Gee, I could have almost what's in the box that thing. I just have put this away so long I forgot about it. Anyway, I put that in one of the things on one of the Facebook groups. I don't think anybody understood what I was talking about. Because somebody was saying, oh, do they still make Johann kits and all this sort of thing, right? So I said, the better question to ask is, see, Johann, what makes them unique is that Johann made a lot of the models that the other manufacturers didn't really do. And that's really the only thing that made Johann so, nostalgically excellent and all this stuff is because, like, AMT would do something like a 62 Chevy, and Monogram would do maybe a 62 Ford or something like that. Johann would do a 62 Plymouth Polara. Like, why? Why is there a Polara? This doesn't make any sense. And then they would do something like a 60 Plymouth station wagon 4-door. You're like, well, what are they doing, right? But what Johann did successfully, even though these kits are really bizarre, right, is that they filled gaps in the model community or your model collection, not community, your collection. So you've got something from GM, Ford, and now Chrysler with AMC. I only said that because of you, Tim. You said, yep, they were the AMC, a model company. But yeah, you get something like 62 Chevy, 62 Ford, and then all of a sudden a 62 Dodge, Plymouth, or whatever, right? Chrysler, or a 62 Rambler, or something that filled that gap. So, like with me, I want to build a diorama. I want to build a street scene, Chicago, 1954, let's say, right? I don't know. So I got 1954. So any 55 Chevys and later are out of the picture. Anything maybe before 1934, maybe a Model T in there, maybe, but primary focus between 54 and let's say 46. Just, I want something in that ballpark field. So what can I get in there? Well, I can get AMT's 49 Ford, 50 Ford, 51 Chevys, right? Revell's 53 Chevy and 54, but they're hot rodded. So you've got to kind of find a way to backdate them or to make them stock. They're also not 125th, they're 124th, perhaps. I can't remember. So again, those might be eliminated out of the picture. Now, it wasn't Galaxy, yes, but Galaxy wasn't around until maybe the late 80s, early 90s. Maybe 92. So prior to that, you can't throw a Galaxy in there. You could. Well, I'll give it to you, okay? And it wasn't until recently that you could put in the Hudsons from Mobius. See, Mobius is almost like that Johann. They're using that what is not here philosophy, which I think they should be doing more of. Not the what's already here, let's just make it a bit different, like AMT and everybody does. Yeah, Galaxy models. And that's really where this whole Johann nostalgia thing is, how can you say it, is baffling because people are still going, oh, I need Johann. And nobody is saying, what's missing in the market? And let's do what Johann did, and let's make a 51 Studebaker bullet nose model, because maybe people will want that. Or maybe it can build that Chicago 54 diorama or something. Or what about like the Plymouth with the big, that chrome bumper they got sticking right in the middle of the grill? Looks like a retainer, a wire retainer thing. Where are those? Why doesn't anybody make any of those as models? Other than they're kind of not the most prettiest thing. But, the Hudson exists. But the Hudson, again, AMT and those guys are building model kits going back to the 1950s, like the Lincoln Futura there, that's all built out of components. That thing came out in the 50s. One of the first models, Revell and all that, before they figured out the one body mold concept, when everything was being glued together as like, here's a separate door panel, here's the upper half of the hood that's kind of like this, because we can't go down this far, we can only go down this far, and then here's the other piece to drop down that like the Revell 1960 Corvette kit, where the side panels come out and stop, and then you have to glue the whole trunk and everything up here on two little tiny glue surfaces, and then it's got the rolled pan out behind, and you're putting together 6 pieces before the body actually is there, whereas now the body is molded as one piece because the technology changed. So we're talking like a very big history of model kits that were all built in between that time frame, and it's only here at the end. So you're talking like, let's say 1955 to 2016. 55, 2016. Okay, calculator time, folks. 2016. This is when the Hudson came out from Mobius. Minus 1955. 61 years. 61 years, my mechanic friends, of no Hudson model kit at all. Maybe a tin toy, but no plastic kit. 61 years of this span in model building history. So what was the problem? And like I say, there's where Johann and all it is. Do you really miss Johann because it's Johann? Or do you miss Johann because nobody is pumping out a 66 Cadillac Hearse? Is this what you're missing? Or is this what you're missing? I think it's this. So if this came out and it said Testers or Mobius or what's it, Solidori Jr. or whatever, the guy that makes the NASCARs, you don't care about this. You care about this. You want this. This is what you want, not this. So Johann, yes, it would be nice to have all their molds, but you only want their molds because you want the model. You don't want Johann. You want the model. Because currently Johann is Oki Spaulding, who only has one kit, and he's only going out, whenever he feels like it, and selling what he's got in his garage. He's not the empire that was Johann, with like a warehouse full of molds that you want to walk through and go, ooh, what's in here? Ooh, look at that. Ooh, what do you have there? Ooh, do you still have this? Oh, you do. Ooh, that's what you want. You don't want a name. You want the model. So anybody can build the model. Let's get these guys making it. Or find out a 3D printer thing, or make it in resin yourself and then market it to the rest of us guys and girls and everybody else that wants that kit. That's what you really want. You just want someone to produce something that's not made out of some material that's difficult to put together. You want somebody making something out of regular styrene plastic that you can take your old testers to and go, and there you go. Yeah. Yeah, Tim gets it. He says exactly. The brand isn't the issue, it's the car. Like the 70s Cutlass, AMT made a 67 Mustang Coupe and never reissued. And that's what the thing is. And all these molds get traded all over the place anyway. Because Tim is talking about the Johann 1970 Oldsmobile. There was the 72 Maverick, the 72 Comet, and the 71 Plymouth Barracuda. Those four still survive. Testers has them. I know because in the 90s, they came in Testers boxes. It was the last time they were issued. So why can't Testers pop them out again since they're making the paints and all that? Testers. Nobody talks about Testers. Testers has a whole bunch of molds. They have the 48 Ford, and you can build that as a 46, 47, or 48. Complicated kit because the body again is in all these crazy component pieces. Another one my dad had that I always wanted. I've got spare parts for it, like the 46 dashboard, because I think he built his as the 48. But there's 3 years that you can build out of that kit made by Testers. It comes in every now and again in like these big time frame jumps, like 1970, whatever, when it was first produced. Then came out again in like 89, and then came out again in 2001, and then never came out ever again after that. Why does nobody talk about what's in Testers model warehouse? You know, it's crazy. But Johan seems to be like this golden child, like, oh, the molds of, and again, you really want the model, not the name, the model. And yeah, where are the molds? A lot of them, because Johan was owned by Seville Enterprises, and there was when Johan went out of business, in one of the car model magazines that I had that went underwater in the flood, which I can't check the story on, but it was basically, they did have a tour of Johan Industries in a prior magazine, and then they also had the issue where they went out of business. And so what happened when they went out of business, the employees were not getting paid by Johan. So a lot of the employees stole the molds. Now, why well, I guess because they're thieves. But yeah, Rust-Oleum is owning Testers now, Mr. Rotten Scurvy Dog. Yeah, I love your handles here. But anyway, those molds are still out there. They're in some old Seville employee's garage. So why can't somebody find them? Well, of course, no one's going to say, "Hey, yeah, I'm one of the Seville employees that ripped off this mold." Yeah, no one's going to come forward on that. But what's going to happen? So here you got this 60-ton steel mold sitting in your garage or your basement, right? That you've successfully stolen from Seville Enterprises. Probably the mold for this, right? Okay, I don't know. How could somebody steal a mold? You need a forklift. Anyway, never mind the technical aspect. Here you got this thing sitting there. So when did Johan go out of business? 1990, let's say 2 to 95, somewhere in that ballpark, if I remember this right. So here you are, the Seville Enterprise employee that stole a mold or two, let's say. You got this big block of metal. Maybe they sold it to a metal dude to melt it down to get the money for their paycheck. I don't know. Let's say that didn't happen. Let's say the mold is still there. So how old were you when you got let go from Seville Enterprises? Let's say you were in your 50s. Well, 1992, that's almost 30 years ago. So now you're an 80-year-old man or woman or whatever, and you got this big steel mold sitting in your garage, probably with a whole bunch of old books and magazines and whatever crap thrown on the top. You're recycling. It's like my dad's garage. I have a 72 Cutlass sitting in my dad's garage that I got to get out here to Alberta. And what did that become? That just became a great big table for all his junk. So there's like recycling boxes on the hood and paint cans and everything else. So I can imagine like this Johan mold sitting there in this condition, like the ladder leaning up against it and all this other stupid stuff, eh? So the old guy passes away. Well, now somebody goes into their house and they're like, okay, we got to get rid of grandpa's stuff. And boom, oh, what the hell is this? Big, massive steel mold. Like, how come those aren't coming out? How come somebody's not like, watching Antiques Roadshow and somebody comes up with this thing on a wheel dolly with 6 guys pushing it. We found this. We don't know what it is. Grandpa had it somehow. He used to work for Seville Enterprises. What the hell is this thing? And then somebody gets a whatever and lifts the lid off, and here's this, like the inverse of this thing sitting in this mold. Like, why aren't we seeing that on Antiques Row? I'd love to see that. Or like, what's the other guys that have the Pawn Stars or something like? I found this. I don't know what it is. Or like these guys that open up the those steel container things, eh? I forget what that's called, but they bid on a steel container box at a shipping yard, right? That's been sitting there for 4 decades. So all these people are bidding on this thing. Then they open it up, and either there's nothing in there, or they find like an old car or something, or like a ton of these Kodak cameras sitting in the back in this big thing. Like, why didn't somebody like open that up and find a Seville mold sitting in there? Big 16-foot by 16-foot, big by 16 feet tall slab of steel, right? Like, what's going on? Like you say, why isn't this stuff surfacing? Anyway, oh, 2 hours in, getting close to the end. So this is the last thing I'll show you guys. Now, this is interesting. My last luxury car. This is a Mercedes, not Mercedes, because it doesn't have the TriStar in the circle in there. Oh, that's interesting. Now, I bet you guys will never figure out where this came from. And this is, you're going to love this when you hear this. Just turn it over. Look at this. Whoops. Don't look at that. That's okay. I knew this was going to fall off because it fell off on me before. I just need a dab of crazy glue in on this axle. Here, let's just get that out of there. Look at that undercarriage. Note the sticker. Made in China. This, my dear mechanics, is a dollar store toy. And this was sold in a plastic bag on a pegboard hook for $1, maybe $2. Can't remember. Deal with it later. So what I did is I used these wheels from the AMT 1932 Ford Phaeton, and I drilled the holes out of them so that you could see through it. And I painted this because it was just white plastic or something. The windows here are tinted black. There's no motor, no interior, nothing. What you would call a curbside. And I painted it with a lacquer seafoam green, and then masked off in here to paint the black. It goes all the way around the car. And then these were all hot knifed in the back. So you got a peg that goes in through a hole, and then they take a knife and they heat it up, or soldering iron, I guess. They push it on so that it mushrooms the back of the peg so that the kids can't pull them off. So I cut off the mushrooming and pulled it out. And then I wrapped it in bare metal foil on the signal lights and the headlights. And then I used the Tamiya clear color, transparent taillight colors. And there you go. And, from the curb, try again to get this axle in. Really? So that's the problem with it. If you get it just a little crooked, you can't get it through that hole. And of course, you can't see where it is. Just gotta fidget. There we go. Got it. And I got crazy glue. Although I don't know if I can see. Is this crazy glue still any good? Yeah. Still got a little bit in there. Okay, let's do this the careful, smart way. And first off, let's get my vision together. Okay, yep, got a little. Okay, just put a little bit there. Luckily, the axle on here is deep enough that it's not going to squish that back. There we go. Never again. Oops. Spoke too soon. Okay, just give that a minute. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, this thing ends up. I mean, oh yeah, the other thing it had originally, we'll deal with that later, was, okay, you, yeah, okay, that flashed. Okay, good. There we go. Okay. Nice. The tires are the Goodyear Rally GTs on here. This is a Mercedes AMG, I do believe. But the wheels that were on here originally, they were really awful. They were white plastic, and the tires, I don't think they were rubber. I think they were, again, a hardened black plastic. And they were held on with the sort of like the Revell wheels with the split pin. So you push the wheel on and you hear it go snap into place, and the little ends pop out, once it compresses in and pops out. That's what was on this thing. So I cut them off with a hobby knife and a saw, and I filed this flat inside here and then drilled the holes, thankfully in the right place, because I know I can get crooked on them. And then I got metal axles with the AMT wheels, slipped them through, and it looks fabulous. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you take a dollar store piece of junk and turn it into something wonderful, using the bare metal foil and everything. Turned out good. The only thing I wish it had was the actual Mercedes, this. This. That's what's missing out of there, is the emblem. See? And I do have another one of these that's like a BMW. I painted it red, but I never finished it off. Should go visit my box of stuff I never finished off and finish it off. Oh, okay, before I go here, because we're already at the 2-hour mark, and before I do a station identification, I'll just show you. Remember a while ago I was showing off my Woody, and I dropped it, and then it broke, and then I started to rework it, and the more I reworked it, the more things broke. Well, I got those all almost fixed here. The only holdup I got on this is I painted, this is one I built as a kid, and I painted it with Tester's flat black. That's what's underneath here. Well, on the underside, right? And I thought, okay, well, when I closed up my brick and mortar, I took all my hobby paints that I was selling and I got them down in the basement. And I was thinking, okay, well, I've got to have a flat black in there so I can touch this up. So I went down and looked on my rack. I've got gloss black and semi-gloss, no flat black. So my holdup on finishing this is to try to find another bottle of Tester's flat black, or maybe trim clad, so that it'll color match in here properly. But yeah, so what I did here on the rear axle is this kit only had one wheel that was rotating, and the other one snapped off when it hit the ground. So I took a paper clip, this paper clip, and I drilled a hole into the axle, and I drilled another one into the wheel back because it had the rotating peg in here sheared off perfectly. So this doesn't anymore, but at least the wheels are straight on that axle and nice and balanced. I was able to take my number 16 hobby blade because this was still glued in, and it's glued in crooked. I'm going to have to try to overcome that because it still wants to go in crooked to original. I think what I'll do is I'll push this in and I'll put 2 matchsticks underneath, like between, see if I can point this out here. Okay. Just between this portion, this portion here, and that arc of the spring. And I'll get 2 that are even so that this can glue in and rest evenly in perfect alignment, because it still wants to shift down this way. And then what I did is I noticed that the end of the drive shaft did not connect into the engine block. So I drilled a hole into the end of that, and stuck another piece of the paper clip in there. So now it'll actually fit into the back hole of the engine. And then, oops, I think I did it to myself here. Just a sec. Okay, there we go. Now the steering, of course, is fully positionable, right? But the problem with this was it's got on the top end of the axle, it's got this piece on there that's like this. And on the bottom end, it's got, okay, I can't make my hands go in. It's got the reverse. So like this, I guess, yeah. So it's sitting there like this, with both hands this way, with a bit of a space in there for the axle. And then a kingpin goes from the top all the way down to the bottom and holds it like that. Well, on this thing, the top one broke off. Top one? Yeah. So all I have is the one on the bottom. So what I did was I got some brass wire. I drilled a hole in the top and I made a loop. You can't really see. Yeah, you can. So I made a loop to remake that top arm thing that's holding in. And so now these will actually steer. But the problem I got is the bottom wants to pop out every now and again. Because really this needed to be 2 circles, top and bottom, for this to work properly. So it's going to always have that little bit of a limp. And then what I did here is I drilled a hole and stuck a more of that paper clip through the hole. And then on the engine, I drilled a hole into the bottom of the transmission, and that will line up once we get it into the car with this pin. Yeah, which will push in and then mount on the frame. Because a weird thing I noticed about this kit, I looked at the instructions, and I've got the other one here, the pickup truck version. And this is the one that just re-released from round 2. So just so you know, this is still kind of current. And what I noticed is the engine in this Model A, really, it only has one connecting point to glue in the car body. Oh yeah, the other thing I did was I removed the radiator and all that. But if you notice, there's this cross member in here. And then on the front of the cross member is this little tiny bracket. That you glue the bottom of the pulley of the motor onto that bracket. So that glues in. And then back here, there's nothing. It's wide open. There's no brace that goes over the bottom of the engine. There's no brace going over the transmission. Nothing. So it just free floats in outer space. So what I did to try to get that free floating thing out of the way is added the pin into there. Whoops. Okay. So then the pin will go into the hole. Now keep in mind, this is a glue bomb I'm also trying to build. And I hope that all this is going to re-glue. Okay, then the front axle glues on that cross member. And then now with the pin in the back for this, once that glues into position, the engine is now actually being anchored, not quite in the right positions, but one at the front, one off of the pin, so the suspension is acting as an anchor for that engine. And then the final anchor is the pin. So basically it's being anchored in off the spring in the back for a triangular mounting position, which is not the way Ford intended this thing to be mounted in its real car. He would have had a bracket over top of the back end of the transmission casing. But anyway, that's how AMT did this thing, so I'm not going to turn it over. But yeah, as I was working on this, keep in mind, originally I built that as a kid. So what I noticed is that my radiator was in the car like this a little bit, not to the same extreme. Is angled over. So Luckily, when I was a kid, I didn't totally, well, no, I did. I did scrape the paint, but for some reason, this wasn't seated all the way in the fenders. So I was able to pop it out, and now I can correct that and make it stable. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, there goes the motor. Oh, another thing I noticed is I did scrape the paint underneath the manifold, but I don't know if you can see this. If I tilt it, you can see the brown plastic in there just hiding behind the updraft carburetor. So I've got to get the same green paint. Thankfully, I painted everything with testers, and I got to paint in carefully underneath there without touching too much, and repaint that motor where it's brown. Oh, the other thing I did was, okay, I took all this stuff up. I fixed the tailgate, and it doesn't quite go down all the way. I'm not sure what's happening there. But both of the plastic pins sheared off. When I dropped it, the one side sheared off, and then when I went to do something, the other one fell off. So I replaced that again with the fine brass wire. And the other cool thing, the dust was really stuck in this. So I took some of my new finish. This is the once a year car polish. I wish I had a sponsorship to that. I took a little dab of it and put it on this old bed sheet, and I waxed it, and it came out perfect. This is 40-year-old Tester's enamel that had dust in it. Dust so much that it looked like it was a gray color instead of black. And I waxed this thing, maybe put about an hour into waxing. And boy, it comes out perfect, like glass. And same with the cowl, and I did it for the hood. And it looks great. Look, so you can see that reflection in there. Keep in mind, this is 30-year-old paint that was put on with a brush, and it's got dust in some of it that you can really see because the particles are still sticking out. But yeah, that wax really made it look sharp. Looks like a fresh paint job. So again, if you've got old models, and they look dusty and crummy and all that stuff, just wash them off as best you can, because I know stuff will get inside, whatever. But do your best to wash it off, and then get some wax. Just a nice wax with a cloth. And that enamel, keep in mind, if it's been painted with Tester's enamel, that enamel, every day that it's been on there, it's drying more and more, and enamel gets harder when it dries. So the more the enamel dries, the harder it becomes, which means that when you polish it with wax some 30, 40 years later, it's like a rock hard finish. It will not suck the polish into the paint, and it can come out like glass, like this. So keep that in mind when you get somebody's old glue bomb or something, or maybe not a glue bomb, but and you want to restore the model. You may not need to actually strip the paint off it. It might just need a wax, unless you really hate the color. But and it might wax up better than anything you can do now. Because I know that Tamiya acrylics, if you wax them, it just goes inside the paint. Because acrylic likes to suck in the paint, but enamel won't. Enamel is like glass. So anyway, that's all I have to show for today before my voice runs out. My name is Trevor Slescu. I am the owner of Monster Hobbies online. This address means nothing anymore. It's an old shirt. This address, hang on. This address means everything. www.monster-hobbies.ca. And the phone number is still there, 403-652-5019. Our online, High River's only online hobby shop. And our website is priced in Canadian dollars. We offer free shipping on all orders within Canada over $75. And we can ship anywhere in the world, the USA, France, Germany, whatever. Pardon me. We accept PayPal and credit cards like MasterCard and Visa on our secure pay system. And that means that if you buy something off our website, as soon as the transaction is finished, processed, all your information is automatically eliminated. No one can get it in any way, shape, or form. If you use a promo code YouTube at the checkout, you can save 10% off your next purchase. Check out our models, what we've got there. I know I've got a lot in my collection, but what I got on the website is different. And also, before you go, click on that join newsletter on our website. It'll be an image in an airmail envelope, which looks like this. It says join our newsletter. You want to get on there because I'm trying to every 2 weeks upload or send out an email, and it's got stuff on there that different offers. I've got tips on there, how to do stuff. It's a pretty good newsletter, so make sure you subscribe for it. So on that token, I would like to thank everybody for contributing into the chat box over here. It's nice to see everybody coming in. Our next live stream is going to be on Saturday. Now, I've been trying to do a Monster Hobbies build party. So you bring in your own model kits, you sit down with me, and I build whatever I'm building here, and we have a chat on the side, talk about all kinds of cool stuff. You know, what you got for Christmas, this sort of thing. Maybe I'll do a Christmas model. But I've been doing a model kit of the 1977 Ford van. And I ran into a problem. And the problem is not with the model kit. The problem is with our weather system right now in Alberta. We're getting minus 31 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 35 Celsius, snowy weather, snow falling, wind. It's terrible. So I've hit the point where I need to paint this van, and I can't paint it because I don't have an indoor spray booth. I'm doing this outside. So I'm stuck. I can't build anything for the group build. Well, I can. And you just saw me unbox or show it all. So what I'm thinking is either A, don't do the group build, the live stream, or B, I just do a different one and get back to the Ford later, like in spring. So I'll make that choice and figure it out. But at any rate, check on this channel for that. And until next time, everybody, I'll sign off. Thanks for joining again, and happy model building.